Up into the arch where the rain doesn't penetrate, and you'll see how dark and dirty it really is. Now through the bridge and to our right hand side, the concrete building with the illuminated sign on the top, the National Theatre. It consists of 3 separate theatres under the same roof. These are the Dorfman, the Littleton and a 1400-seater Olivier, named after the founder, Sir Laurence Olivier. Now this building has been voted by several of the country's leading architects to be the ugliest building to stand in London. Prince Charles, he's very much into his architecture, and he once described the building as looking more like a nuclear power station than a theatre. He said it was the ugliest building he'd ever seen. And let's be brutally honest, folks, when it comes to ugly things, Prince Charles knows exactly what he's talking about. Buildings, that is. He doesn't like the ugly buildings. Coming up ahead of us to our left-hand side, you'll see the white ship on the embankment wall with a yellow funnel, the Wellington. At one time she was a sloop belonging to the New Zealand Royal Navy. The Wellington now serves as the only floating livery hall anywhere in the world. She now belongs to the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. Now for many years the president of the Master Mariners was the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. And I have been told that recently his son Prince Charles has took over. Now very shortly, as we pass the Wellington, behind the ship, it's very difficult to see where the tide's quite high at the moment, but beneath the trees just behind the Wellington, you'll see a stone archway with a figurehead of Father Thames carved into the top. This is the Temple Arch or Temple Gate, and it does officially mark the boundary line between 2 different cities. The city of Westminster, we're just leaving behind us, and the city of London, we are just entering. City of London, one of the smallest capital cities anywhere in the world. It measures a total of just 1 square mile. Now as you can see, we've just come inside the moorings here, and this is just to drop 2 crew members off on their boat. Just ahead of us here, the Royalty, so bear with us just for a few moments, and we'll drop them off, and then we'll continue downriver. Now over here to our left-hand side, you'll see this very large construction site. And there's quite a number of these on the river at the moment. If you're coming down to Greenwich with us, you'll see quite a few of them, and they're all part of the same project. It's called the Thames Tideway Tunnel. What they're doing is they're building a very large new sewer here in London. The old Victorian sewers can no longer cope with the amount of people who live here. When you get a big downpour of rain in London, like yesterday, the sewers overspill raw sewage into the Thames. So 50 metres beneath the river, they're boring this massive great tunnel, big enough to drive a double-decker bus through, and it starts up at Hammersmith in West London, goes all the way down to Beckton in East London. And it's going to take around 10 years to complete at a cost of £5 billion. The Thames Tideway Tunnel. Then ahead of us here we have the Blackfriars Road Bridge. Now just before we go beneath the bridge, if you look to the top of the supports where they resemble church pulpits, at the top of the red marble columns you'll see the carvings of all the birds, very detailed carvings of different types of birds we get here on the Thames. On this side of the bridge they're all freshwater birds, and on the other side of the bridge they're all saltwater birds. And they do say it's at this point on the Thames where the freshwater and the saltwater meet, and it makes this part of the Thames brackish. So once through the Blackfriars Road Bridge, you'll see it's very quickly followed by the Blackfriars Railway Bridge. In between the 2 bridges, either side of the boat, you'll see some old red stone columns. These columns are all that remain of the old St Paul's Railway Bridge. It was the first railway bridge to cross the River Thames. They removed the top half of this bridge away from these old red columns around 45 years ago as it became unsafe. They never took the old red stone supports away for fear of damaging the foundations of the bridges either side. Originally carried Brunel's Invicta Railway across the top of it, and that linked the City of London with the South East coast. Through the bridges and to the right hand side, the large brown brick building with a tall chimney stack, the old Bankside Power Station, now used as the Tate Modern Art Gallery. Now it's completely free of charge to enter this building, you don't pay anything at all to go inside there. After walking around in there for about 10 minutes you'll start to realise why. It's full of a load of rubbish they call modern art here in London. In that building you can view such masterpieces as an unmade teenager's bed, a man piling up a stack of bricks, half a cow in a plastic box, and a pile of empty beer cans. Now if you want to see a real work of art, look over here to our left hand side, dominating the skyline. You can see the large grey dome and the golden cross of Sir Christopher Wren's masterpiece, St Paul's Cathedral. St Paul's took 35 years to build. It was completed 1710. From ground level to the tip of the golden cross, it stands 365 feet tall. Quite amazingly, the foundations of the building are just 4 feet deep. Buried in the crypt of St Paul's, Alexander Fleming, the man who discovered penicillin, the Iron Duke, the Duke of Wellington, the Admiral, Lord Horatio Nelson, and of course the architect himself, Sir Christopher Wren. Now we're going to pass beneath the Millennium Footbridge, designed by Norman Foster, and I know there's a couple of passengers on board wishing to leave us here on the right. This is Bankside Pier. They're passengers with the Bankside tickets. This is your stop. Everybody else, please just stay in your seats. Bear with us just for a few moments, just while we make this stop. There's only a couple of passengers wishing to leave us. We will then continue downriver. Southwark Road Bridge, it was opened here in 1921. It is officially the least used of all London's bridges, and that's mainly because it's very difficult to find. The approach roads are very badly signposted, they're very well hidden either side of the bridge by the Europe. It stands 1,016 feet tall. Most of the building is used as office space. There's a few shops on the lower levels, there's a bar, a restaurant, even a swimming pool in the Shard. And towards the top are some private luxury apartments, some of which are still for sale, and they are priced at £48 million each. There's also a viewing gallery up there. It's around £30 to go up there and have a look out. Also here to the right, the brown brick building with the red painted window frames, one of the many famous riverside pubs. This one is the Anchor of Bankside. There has been an anchor on this site since the year 1615. In the original wooden building, Shakespeare and his players had a changing room in the attic, which they used before they performed at the original Globe Theatre that once stood just behind the Anchor pub, there to our right hand side. And we are about to pass beneath the Cannon Street Railway Bridge. It services Cannon Street Station, which stands just above the bridge to our left. To our right, in the west dock, you can see the replica of Sir Francis Drake's old sailing ship, the Golden Hind. A fully working wooden replica. It's actually been around the world twice, which is, of course, once more than the original. Both times retracing Drake's original footsteps. Now permanently housed here at St Mary Overy Dock. She is open to the public. Ahead of us, the New London Bridge, opened here in 1973. Just before we go through the bridge, look to the left, you can see the new building, the office building there, what flares out at the top. Now I pointed out the viewing gallery in the Shard, and it's 30 quid to go up there. Well, this one to the left, you can go up there to the top for nothing. It's called the Sky Garden London, and as long as you book it in advance online, you can go up there free of charge. And the best thing about that building is there's a bar up there as well, so you can get very good views and enjoy a nice pint with the 30 quid you save from going up the Shard. Now the new London Bridge here, opened in 1973. There's been a London Bridge on or very near to this point for almost 2,000 years. The last London Bridge to stand here was sinking into the Thames mud. It was taken down stone by stone and sold to the McCulloch Corporation of America for the price of £1 million. They shipped it over to America and recreated it as a tourist attraction. The old London Bridge now spans part of Lake Havasu in the Amazon desert, and they've even got one of the old red Route Master buses that goes backwards and forwards across it. Now through the bridge and to our left, have a look between the gap in the buildings on our left. Very shortly you'll get a very quick glimpse of a tall candle-like column with a golden top piece. This is Sir Christopher Wren's monument to the Great Fire of London of 1666. If you lay this monument down on its side in the direction that we are travelling, the golden top strikes the ground at the very spot where the Great Fire first started, a small baker shop in Pudding Lane. Just yesterday, folks, I had a lady ask me, is the baker shop still there? I explained to her there was a small fire and it got burnt down. Also there to the left, the yellow brick building with the golden fish weather vanes. This is the old Billingsgate Fish Market. There was a fish market on this site for just over 900 years. In 1982 they then moved to a larger building slightly further downriver in the Docklands area, very close to the Canary Wharf development, and this building is now used for functions and events. Also to the left, behind the blue railings and the trees, the building with a clock face, Water Guard House, and that's the home of Her Majesty's Customs and Excise. Coming up here to our right, we have London's very own warship, HMS Belfast. The Belfast has been permanently moored at this point in the Thames since 1972. She was originally built in 1938 at the Harland and Wolff Shipyards, Belfast, Northern Ireland, commissioned for active service in 1939. HMS Belfast served throughout the Second World War. She helped with the shelling of the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, and she also played a big part in the Battle of North Cape, where she helped to chase, shell and eventually sink the German battlecruiser, the Scharnhorst. HMS Belfast now lies here peacefully, used as a museum ship, all run by the Imperial War Museum, and well worth a visit. Then ahead of us here to our left, in amongst the trees, you can see the famous Tower of London. You can see the main part of the building there. It's the large square tower with the 4 turrets and a single flagpole. Known as the White Tower, this is the oldest part of the Tower of London. Work commenced on this part of the building in 1078 under the direct orders of William the Conqueror. In its time, the Tower of London has been many different things, some of which include a royal mint, a zoo, a fortress, a state prison, and of course most famously a place of execution. And then built in a Gothic style to blend in with the Tower of London, ahead of us, arguably the most famous bridge in the world, Tower Road Bridge. Not actually as old as it looks, opened here in 1894 and designed by Sir John Wolfe Barry. Now very shortly we go beneath the lower central bascules, and these divide in the middle.